Hi, everybody. I'm Aimee Louw, and thanks so much for having me at this Walrus talk. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today. So as we've heard a lot of different perspectives on what mobility is, and all these exciting new options that we've just been shown include the hovercraft, which I'm personally very excited for. And obviously mobility means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But today, what I really wanted to come and talk to you about is what mobility means for me, which is belonging. So I live in Montreal, and a lot of the transportation system is inaccessible to me and a lot of people. And so when I started seeing like e-scooters popping up this summer, I was a little bit jealous, to be completely honest, because I found that like so many new options for mobility are favoring people who already have like a plethora of options. And so that's sort of where I'm coming from. And for me, when I think about belonging, it's also about designing with my queer and trans kin in mind as well. Are there options for non-gendered bathrooms along the way? Are cities making sure that women and queer folks feel safe in the cities, and focusing on those maybe less exciting options as well? And why is this important? Well, for me, it's important because on the other side of mobility, meaning belonging, it can also mean alienation. And it's really important to think about the people who aren't being developed for and look at some of the, what I'm calling access conflicts. So for example, in Montreal a few years ago, there were some electric metro cars that were purchased, which was awesome because it's more environmental and there's less fossil fuels being emitted. However, unfortunately, the gap between the new train cars and the platform was wider than the old ones. So in fact, it seemed to me that like environmentalism was being favored over accessibility for people with diverse mobility needs and older folks, anyone who has a wheel with them, parents, etc. And so I really want to bring home the concern that I have, and also the opportunity that all of us have in this room today, which is to really prioritize accessibility in the future of mobility. Because as we've seen, there are so many amazing examples. The Mayor of Victoria provided us a lot of inspiration, and I feel that it's important not to throw accessibility under the bus, as it were. Yeah, that's fallen flat. It was a joke. It was a joke. Because yeah, it's like it's important to feel excited about mobility, but at the same time, it's a big challenge for a lot of people, and I feel that it's important to keep that in mind when we're looking at these exciting new science fiction options, and also say, what are we doing now to retrofit the options that do exist that have been around for 60, 70 years and still don't have elevators? So it's about sort of sharing those priorities for me. So for me, innovation means centering the people who are most marginalized at the core of new design projects. So what does that really mean? How do we do that? Well, I have a few takeaways that we can sort of bring back home with us to our offices, our workplaces, our design practices, and our policy work. And the first idea I have is to reserve a budget line in any future design project for consulting people who aren't at the table. So we all have heard the saying, who's at the table matters. Well, let's reserve either a percentage of an operating budget or keep a budget line in all future design projects in order to go and seek out the expertise of people who have lived experience of disability, so any disability justice organizations or people who work in anti-poverty or LGBTQ organizations, etc., to not only get input on a voluntary basis, but actually to seek out them as consultant and as paid labor, and to show you're sort of like valuing that knowledge with dollars as well as interest. The second sort of suggestion I have is, if you don't know where to start, if you're like, oh, I have a new project and I want to consult with someone who might be deaf or someone who has low vision, that sort of thing, you can get in touch with me, because I have a national, like, loose network of friends who work in this area, and I'd be happy to actually put you in touch with the right people who can give you the input. So you can find me on Twitter is probably the best way, or just come and heckle me after our talk. And so, because I'm the last speaker and I like to do interactive things, I'm going to invite you to take a pledge with me as we round out the talks today. So I'm inviting you to repeat after me, to sort of solidify a commitment to designing with the most marginalized people in mind. So I'll say it, and then I'll point to you and invite you to say it with me. So I pledge to design with the most marginalized people in mind. Okay, now this time more energetic. I pledge to design with the most marginalized people in mind. Okay, one more time, and then that's it. I pledge to design with the most marginalized people in mind. Okay, thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, Aimee.